Yes, astonishing tales of the UFO, all here tonight on the Creepy Little Book Live. But before we get started, let me say a quick hello to the chat. Let me just pop on in here and say a quick hello to everybody who I'm very thankful for tuning in tonight, for joining us here as we delve into the world of the weird, as we do here so often, night after night, day after day. And it's a good time, folks, and I really appreciate you coming along with us as we examine these mysteries, as we listen to these legends and myths, and as we explore what may or may not be. Yes, all here tonight, and I'm so glad you could be with me. So thank you very much. And let's see, looks like Tina Tomazuski is not along yet, but I'm sure she will be our moderator. Tina Tomazuski, everybody. I don't see her yet, but I'm sure she'll be here any moment now. And what else we got going on? So, hello, everybody. Hello. Thank you all for being here again. I do appreciate you joining us for this topic. Hey, I'm going to play some games. Has a pretty good comment here. I'm going to lead with off the bat. One of the most incredible UFO tales I ever heard was from the 80s. I wish I could find the video interview. Guy talks about getting taken up in a craft, was told about the future via flat screen TVs that were interactive, then sent back down to Earth. He then snapped pics of the UFO as it was chased by 3 jet fighters. Happened in Brazil, if I'm not mistaken. He discussed what it looked like, what they told in detail. I first came across it on those old school awesome UFO documentaries. I'll try and track it down and post comment link. Thank you. I'm going to play some games. I appreciate that. Yeah, it sounds like a very interesting case. Yeah, there are so many interesting cases when it comes to the UFO phenomenon. You have the real inception of the UFO phenomenon begins in 1947 with the Mount Rainier sighting. Then you got Roswell, of course, which gives birth to a plethora of theories regarding what was going on in the skies and on the ground in New Mexico.
Docking clamps retracted.
And this sets the stage for the contactees of the 1950s. These people who would come along and claim to have these encounters with extraterrestrial beings. Your Truman Bethrooms, your George Van Tassels, your guys like this, who were in contact with various extraterrestrials from around the galaxies or the cosmos, who had generally had a positive message of spirituality for humanity. These contactees were very different from what we would see later on with people like Whitley Strieber or Travis Walton. There's very different experiences they had when it came to their close encounters than some of these people that lived through the earliest UFO flaps of the 1950s. And those contactees who generally had more positive encounters with very humanoid-like creatures who had a message of spirituality almost, and of peace and of unity, it would seem to be the case. Hey, I'm going to play some games. Says one of the best books on the subject, in my opinion, is UFO, The Complete Sightings by Peter Brooks-Smith. Highly recommended. It starts with ancient mythology and biblical lore and goes up to contemporary accounts. Tons of incredible pictures and breakdowns of under-known cases. Thank you. Hey, I'm going to play some games, and I'm going to add that to my reading list. If you don't mind, folks, just give me a moment to jot that book down. UFO, The Complete Sightings. Okay. I'm just getting this done right here. Peter Brooks-Smith. Right, thank you very much. Games. Definitely what we'll look into. Robert, let's go. Hello, Pete. Well, hello, Robert. Thank you for being here tonight. Wes Strud, how you doing? How does it go? How does it go, everybody? We're talking about UFOs tonight. Nicole Malo says, my friend and I, one night years ago, saw a light high in the sky, went from the east to the west, one side of the sky to the other in like 15 seconds. UFO? Who knows? Well, I think anything that moves in these incredible speeds that defies what we know of as conventional aircraft could aptly be described as some kind of unidentified flying object. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean they come from the deep, dark reaches of outer space. That's an association that's made over time. That's an association and a loop in logic that's been made over the course of time. And that's been influenced by, obviously, cinema and television and publications that have spoken to the idea of extraterrestrials throughout the years. You think of science fiction and the effect that's going to have on how we perceive these things. There's something to be said for where fact meets fantasy, or where the line is drawn between the two. So, I don't know. I don't know distinctly how the leap in logic was made between the craft and the extraterrestrials, but it was. One immediately led to the other, because people assumed that this technology was literally out of this world upon sighting it. And we can go back to the Foo Fighters of World War II, or some of the earlier proto-UFO sightings from ancient history, or even from, the 1800s on. The great airship flap of the late 1800s. These things all combine together to form a tapestry, of UFO mythology. And I, for one, find it to be some of the most curiosity-inspiring information I've ever come across. You will see among the annals of the legends of the UFO a variety of different people making all kinds of claims. And throughout these claims, they will establish what we know as these different extraterrestrial species that we can record and say, okay, this person claimed to be in contact with Pleiadians like Alex Collier. Or am I thinking of Billy Myers? Or this person claimed to be in contact with Venusians like Val Valiant Thor, the stranger at the Pentagon. And with each one of these new claims and cases that comes along, we get a glimpse into a new proposed species of extraterrestrial, until we have a whole tapestry of various different humanoid extraterrestrial species out there. Some that look exactly like us, some that look like, of course, Zeta Reticulum Greys, some that are the dreaded reptilians of the Alpha Draconis system. Others might be the Lyrans, the cat people from the Prism of Lyra that was channeled information by Alyssa Royale. And I always forget who the book besides Alyssa Royale. Let me see here. Keith Priest. Thank you. Keith Priest. Prism of Lyra. Keith Priest and Alyssa Royale. It explores an exploration of human galactic heritage. It is still available on Amazon in paperback for under $10. So there we go. The Prism of Lyra. There's a newer edition of this item. The Prism of Lyra, an exploration of human galactic heritage. $13.79. You know what? I'm okay with going with the 1993 one. I'm all right with that. This examines the idea of a collection of creation in a different light. In contrast to the notions that humans are a result of creation, it explores the idea that the collective humanoid consciousness created our universe for a specific purpose. The Prism of Lyra explores those purposes and then traces several off-planet races, such as those from the Pleiadians, Sirius, and Orion, through their own evolutionary, and ties them to the evolving Earth. Highlighted is our intergalactic interconnectedness and our shared desire to return home. So the Prism of Lyra, everybody. Definitely a book to look into if you're interested in what's going on in the dark space between all these creatures that people claim exist. It really is a space opera. So if you're looking for something really strange to get into, then check it out. Check it out. I think you will find it very bizarre. I'm just making noises to kill the dead air for a minute. So I'll sing my heart out for you. For you. Hey, I'm gonna play some games. Says I love the airship stories. So bizarre. Pete, there was a cattle abduction that took place in 1897. Farmer named Alexander Hamilton. There's an affidavit of the account signed by sheriff, lawyers, and etc. Okay. So, we've got, the cattle abductions. It's not really out of the realm of possibility when we talk about these lights in the sky. They've been associated with one another for these many years now, mainly through the work of Linda Moulton Howe, who I greatly respect. I think Linda Moulton Howe does a good job as far as a researcher and a journalist. So yeah, Linda Moulton Howe has definitely been pioneering that field of research for many, many years. And her own work has tied the lights in the sky to that, cattle phenomenon there. Very strange stuff going on when we talk about the UFOs and the cows. I guess the UFOs don't like cows. I've even seen a lamp with a UFO sucking a cow up off the ground, but that was the design of the lamp. So there's a UFO abducting a cow. You know, the aliens love cows for some reason. Maybe they don't have cows in space. Maybe they need milk. They need the milk to do a body good up there. Now I'm showing my age when I'm dropping old milk references. No, Tina just dropped a link to the Prism of Lyra, everybody, if you're interested in picking up a copy of the Prism of Lyra. Under $10, I'm looking forward to it. Could be another strange one for the collection, you never know. I'm just happy I found my bookmark. I think I'm going to buy a couple more bookmarks, which I never think to do. I never think that we sit down and buy myself a bookmark. Yeah, there's aliens and there's cows. They don't go together. Hey, I'm gonna play some games. Points out that it's super weird. It was a cigar-shaped airship that developed a red tether down to grab the cow. It then got stuck in a fence, at which point the farmer and ranch hand worked to free it to no avail. You know, I think I vaguely recall hearing an account just like that regarding this cow getting stuck in the fence. This is what's jogging my memory. Now, I don't know the details all too well, but this does feel like a familiar story to me. But I do appreciate it. Hey, I'm gonna play some games. It's definitely a weird, and look, I think the craft have evolved over time as well. I think, the kind of spacecraft people reported seeing in the 50s and 60s are very different than the spacecraft people started claiming to see in the 80s, 90s, and forward. Very different kinds of spacecraft. And I don't know if that's an evolution of their technology or of our collective mythology that's built up around this stuff. Because, if you live in different parts of the world, you're more likely to encounter different kinds of space aliens. If you live in North America, your depiction of a space alien as the gray with his big eyeballs and his goofy head, because the great looking thing is going to be the standard. But if you lived in another part of the world, your perception of what these creatures look like might be different. You might be encountering tall Nordics or something like that, rather than short grays. Or God forbid, reptilian creatures who invade your dreamscape. So it is definitely some strange stuff to worry about when we're worrying about what's going on. with the lights in the sky and with the UFOs. You know, people having encounters with these things. And I like the stories of the contactees, these pleasant encounters. They're generally pleasant. Two of the earliest contactees in the modern sense were William Magoon and Guy Ballard. Guy Ballard was a follower of Madame Blavatsky, who wrote The Secret Doctrine and was the founder of Theosophy. Magoon's book was titled William Magoon, Psychic and Healer, and it was published in 1930. He claimed that early in the 20th century, he had been unexpectedly and instantaneously transported to Mars. The planet was essentially Earth-like with cities and wilderness. The inhabitants had radio and automobiles. Though they were invisible, Magoon sensed their presence. Though Magoon was obscure, Ballard would have more of an impact via the I Am movement he established. In 1935, Ballard claimed that several years earlier, he and over 100 other witnesses saw the appearance of 12 Venusians in a cavern beneath Mount Shasta. The Venusians played music for the audience, said Ballard, then showed the crowd a large mirror-like device that displayed images of life on Venus. The Venusians then allegedly reported that Earth would suffer from an era of tension and warfare, followed by worldwide peace and goodwill. George Adamski, who later became probably the most prominent contactee of the UFO era, was one contactee with an early interest in the occult. Adamski founded the Royal Order of Tibet in the 1930s. His later messages from the Venusians sound suspiciously like his own earlier occult teachings, according to writer Michael Barkun. Christopher Partridge notes, importantly, that in the pre-1947 contactees do not involve UFOs. Rather, it suggests that an existing tradition of extraterrestrial contact via seances and psychic means promptly incorporated into the flying saucer mythos when they were alive. So people were already communicating with beings from beyond this world through seances and psychic means. When UFOs show up, they folded it in. The 1947 report of Kenneth Arnold sparked widespread interest in flying saucers, and before long, many people were claiming to have been in contact with flying saucer inhabitants. There was a nearly continuous series of contactees, beginning with George Adamski in 1952. Radio host Long John Nebel interviewed many contactees on his program during this era. The stereotypical contactee account in these days involved not just conversations with friendly humanoid spacemen, but also tours inside their flying saucers and rides to large motherships in Earth orbit, and even jaunts to the moon, Mars, Venus, Jupiter, and Saturn. In support of their claims, early 1950s contactees often produced photographs of the alleged flying saucers and their occupants. A number of photos of a Venusian scout ship by George Adamski, and identified by him as typical extraterrestrial flying saucers, were noted to suspiciously bear a remarkable resemblance to a type of once commonly available chicken egg incubator, complete with 3 light bulbs, which Adamski said were the landing gear. For over 2 decades, contactee George Van Tassel hosted the annual Giant Rock Interplanetary Spacecraft Convention in the Mojave Desert. Another 1950 contactee, Buck Nelson, held a similar convention in the Ozarks of Missouri up until 1965. So these guys were doing conventions, Moonman conventions. Buck Nelson was doing it in the Ozarks, and Van Tassel was doing it in the Mojave. And they were saying, come on down to my UFO convention. Because we're starting UFO conventions. It's the 1950s. We're kicking these off. And these guys were superstars of the UFO movement back then. Superstars. Going on the Long John Nebel show? That's right. Before even Coast to Coast AM, there was Long John Nebel, and he talked to many contactees, like they said. One of my favorite contactees is Elizabeth Clare.
Mission critical message.
She was a South African woman who claimed to have been contacted by aliens multiple times between 1954 and 1963. She was also one of the first women to claim a romantic relationship with an extraterrestrial. She promoted the idea of a better world and beliefs in a cosmic consciousness. In her book, Beyond the Light Barrier, she strived to convey a message of peace, love, understanding, and environmentalism, which she credited to the superior wisdom of an advanced and immaculately utopian Venusian civilization. She promoted theories of an international cover-up which keeps vital information from the public and claimed to have been threatened with kidnapping to press her into revealing details about alien technology. So yeah, she used to go up to Flying Saucer Hill. She'd meet up with the Flying Saucers. There was a Flying Saucer man named Orthon, I believe. No. Orthon was Adamski. Was this Akon? Yes, it was Akon. Yes, Akon. So she would have, and she writes, and her book is very sexy, if you're interested in it. It is called Beyond the Light Barrier. Let's see if that's available. It's very romantic, very graphic about it, and it was written, I don't know when it was written. I want to say it was published in the 80s for some reason, but I could be wrong. Yeah, it was published in 1980. Okay, so yeah, Akon from Meton, a planet of Proxima Centauri at a distance about 4.3 light years away, and they were in a romantic relationship. Elizabeth Clare was also a woman who was advanced in age and became pregnant with Akon's space baby. Hey, I'm going to play some games. This is not in the same section as the Bigfoot romance novel. It is not in the same section. Beyond the Light Barrier, it's called, and it is available on Amazon. Let's see how much that one's going for. Perfect paperback for $15.43. Beyond the Light Barrier, the autobiography of Elizabeth Clare, South African woman, and Akon, an astrophysicist from Meton. She's taken in his spaceship to Meton, where she lived with him and his family for 4 months, and she bore his child. Her life on Meton is fascinatingly described. Akon brought Elizabeth back to Earth after the birth of their son and continued to visit her thereafter. She was also given a standing ovation at the 11th International Congress of UFO Research at Wiesbaden in 1975, and her speech as guest of honor was applauded by scientists of 22 nations. So that's a little fun fact about Elizabeth Clare, contactee who claimed a romantic relationship with a space alien named Akon. I wish I had some excerpts from the book. Oh, it looks like the book's available everywhere. So yeah, everybody check it out. Check it out. That's another for the book list there. Elizabeth Clare, Beyond the Light Barrier. What other book did we talk about tonight? The UFOs, The Complete Sightings by Peter Brooksmith. What else did we mention? There was another book we mentioned, if I'm not mistaken. It escapes me now. It does escape me. I apologize. At the time, the name escapes me. I'm sure that it will come back to me at some point, and we will have much more to recall and remember, time after time, day after day. JPTVAZ for $1. Thank you, JPTVAZ. Much appreciated. Thank you very much. Very nice of you. Thank you. Philip Blair says, I thought Akon was a musician. Akon the musician does share the name with Akon the astrophysicist from Meton, but I don't believe that Akon the musician is a space alien. I'm not trying to allege that any space alien activity is going. Oh, Prism of Lyra. Thank you, Tina. Totally is on the tip of my tongue, but I couldn't get it out there. Prism of Lyra. So we talked about Prism of Lyra. We talked about this book by Elizabeth Clare, Beyond the Light Barrier. And we talked about the UFOs, the Complete Sightings by Peter Brooks Smith. So we're talking about some good books tonight. Getting some book recommendations. I like it here. I like when that happens. It's fun stuff. Anyone who plays some games points out that Flying Saucers, Serious Business by Frank Edwards is another phenomenal book. Tons of incredible stories from ancient up till today. I do so love good UFO stories. I'm going to jot that down as well here. Flying Saucers. Serious Business. And that's by Frank Edwards. All right. Got it down there. Thank you. Hey, I'm going to play some games. Very good. So, yeah, Elizabeth Clare, really fascinating story, I think, when it comes down to it with the UFO story, with the romantic angle involved. There are people who claim to have romances with extraterrestrials. And that's kind of par for the course for some of these encounters that are not negative. If they're not negative encounters, it's like sometimes it's one of these very romantic kind of things. In the case of David Huggins, for example. David Huggins is a contactee who claimed that he has had a romantic relationship with an alien named Crescent for decades. These many years he's been involved. Now, he's just a deli clerk in Hoboken to some people. But to others, he's a contactee who's maintained a decades-long physical relationship with a space alien. So there you go. There you go. If you want to look into that stuff, I think what's the book called? Love and Flying Saucers, I think. Love and Flying Saucers. Let me see if I can find the name. Love and Saucers is the name of the documentary. It's on Google Play. Then there's Love in an Alien Purgatory, The Life and Fantastic Art of David Huggins, a soft cover. By Farah Yurdozu. Love in an Alien Purgatory. But Love and Saucers is the one you can check out. I mean, it's all about this man's life with his space alien girlfriend. Of course, famous contactees, Betty Barney Hill, one of the first cases of people claiming to have been taken by extraterrestrials, or, it was a case of them not crashing with public families after the time they were taken. 1961, September 19th and 20th of 1961, the first widely publicized year of people being taken by moon men. But that was the case. Tina points out that I'm garbling or robo. Well, I really don't have any control over that if that is happening.
Mission objective complete.
So I don't know what to tell you. It's just something that happens sometimes. So we'll see if we can just push on through and hopefully the garbling and roboing stops.
Cargo scoop deployed.
Okay, Betty and Barney Hill, of course, that's a big one. Truman Bathroom. Okay, Truman Bathroom's alien contactee, right? Truman Bathroom, he wrote a book called Aboard a Flying Saucer in 1954, giving a great many details of his suffering at the hands of skeptics and a great deal of information about Captain Aura Raines. He's the object of his fascination, who was the beautiful captain of a spaceship that he encountered in the 1950s. Let me see here. Voice of Planet Clarion. So he wrote books about Clarion, the planet they were from, Aura Raines. Let's see here. She wore a beret. She did wear a beret, for those of you who might not know. Adamski, in his second book, Inside the Spaceships, claimed to have met two women named Kalana and Limuth aboard their mothership orbiting Earth. So there was Adamski. Howard Menger was initially contacted by a woman who he called the Girl in the Rock. He relates it from his first book, From Outer Space to You. He came across her in the woods near his home in New Jersey when he was a 10-year-old. She was a space alien. Aura Raines. Truman Bathroom meets Aura Raines in the desert. He describes her in terms of a complete adoration and heartfelt longing. She was the captain of her vessel, which was very progressive at the time period for a lady space captain to be, a flying saucer pilot captain. We're talking about the 1950s, so this is very forward thinking here. Very forward thinking we're talking about. And Truman Bathroom was all about her. Like, he was infatuated with her. Yeah, he claimed to possess physical evidence of extraterrestrial existence, which he never produced. Bathroom's second wife, Mary, divorced him in 1955, citing jealousy over Captain Aura Raines in her divorce petition. Bathroom often remarked in his later lectures his wife divorced him due to jealousy over the beautiful captain. In 1960, Bathroom remarried for a third time, his wedding taking place at George Van Tassel's popular annual Giant Rock spacecraft convention near Landers. So Truman Bathroom was in it to win it. Not only is he getting married over and over again, but he's getting married at the UFO convention in 1960. It's 1960. I'm Truman Bathroom. I'm going to tie the knot for the third time at the UFO convention held by George Van Tassel. What a time to be alive. Not only that, but his second wife leaves him because she's jealous of the space alien. That's what was the divorce petition. Jealousy over Captain Aura Raines. Like, what was he doing to make his wife so jealous? Like, was he walking around all day like, yeah, it'd be great if you look like Aura Raines? Like, was he just being crude and inhumane? I don't know. This cat behind me is snoring so loud it is actually distracting. I'm really kind of concerned. I don't think a cat should snore that loud. I think it's like against their instincts to make that much noise in general. But yeah, he's snoring away back here. It is very distracting. I'll have to wake him up and be like, hey, explore somewhere else. Hey, I'm gonna play some games, asks. Have I looked into Adamski and Madeline Roddifer? Madeline is on film talking about the aliens that look just like humans who requested they both film their saucer in flight. No, not familiar with that one. Not familiar with that one. She said they dressed in normal attire from time to time and drove around in cars, but not using UFOs. You know what? I'll tell you. That's not the first I've heard stories like that, where they're able to just kind of, take these space aliens and they're blending into society seamlessly. So, I mean, are you okay? I just can't get over this cat snoring right now. Like, I gotta check on him. Yeah, I got that. You know what? Oh, so you guys could hear him in the background just snoring back here. Yeah, he's really going for it. Really going for it. Okay, but I digress. Um, if you just give me a minute, I've got to step away for a moment. I'll be right back. I'll be right back. Sorry about the impromptu intermission, folks. Had to go mix up a cup of coffee. Felt myself starting to dip a little bit. Needed a little pep me up. So I went and grabbed a nice hot cup of Joe here. Got my cup right here. Very good stuff. So where I left off with Truman Bethram. Truman Bethram was mesmerized by the alluring Aura Raines, who was a UFO captain that he encountered in the 1950s. So alluring was she, and so taken and smitten by her was Truman Bethram, it led to his second divorce. His wife even citing jealousy over the gorgeous Captain Raines in their divorce petition. Bethram later on remarking that his wife left him because she was jealous of Aurora Raines, and then remarrying at George Van Tassel's UFO convention in the Mojave Desert. Fun stuff there for Truman Bethram. A little lesser known contactee here, but maybe you might know him. Is a guy named David Liebhart. He is a musician, a puppeteer, and an actor who you may know from Adult Swim's Tim and Eric Awesome Show, Great Job. Now, he has also claimed extraterrestrial contact himself with, I believe, the Clarions?
Station services are on standby for your arrival, Commander. Good to have you.
Yeah, so he has also claimed various extraterrestrial contact.
Access granted.
He's a funny guy, actually. Very funny guy. I don't know if he's intentionally a comedian, if it's a whole act or a shtick or whatever. But he's good at it. He's good at what he does. Very comical. You can find videos of him right here on YouTube. George Adamski. George Adamski was famous.
Scan detected.
He's the first and most famous
You're on track,
of
Commander.
UFO contactees who
Looks
came to
good.
prominence in the 1950s. He called himself a philosopher, teacher, student, and saucer researcher. Although most investigations concluded his claims were an elaborate hoax, and that Adamski himself was a charlatan and a con artist. That's now depending on who you ask. He wrote 3 books describing his meetings with Nordic aliens and his travels with them aboard their spaceships. Flying Saucers Have Landed, co-written with Desmond Leslie in 1953, Inside the Spaceships in 1955, and Flying Saucers Farewell in 1961. The first 2 books were both bestsellers. By 1960, they sold a combined 200,000 copies. So, I mean, he was selling a pretty good chunk of books there. I wish I was selling 200,000 copies of anything. You know, you figure, I mean, what were those prices back then?
Welcome to the station.
1960? Who knows what the price of a book, what was the price of a book in 1960? Good question. A quarter? $1? $2 maybe? Who knows? I wasn't alive. I can't tell you. So, in October of 1946, during a meteor shower, Adamski and some friends claimed that while they were at the Palomar Gardens campground, they witnessed a large cigar-shaped mothership. In early 1947, Adamski took a photo of what he claimed was the 1946 cigar-shaped mothership crossing in front of the moon over Palomar Gardens. In the summer of 1947, following the first widely publicized UFO sighting in the U.S., Adamski claimed he had seen 184 UFOs pass over Palomar Gardens one evening. In 1949, Adamski began giving his first UFO lectures to civic groups and other organizations in Southern California. He requested and received fees for the lectures. In these lectures, he made fantastic claims, such as the government and science had established the existence of UFOs 2 years earlier via tracking radar of 700-foot-long spacecrafts on the other side of the moon. In his lectures, Adamski further claimed that science knows not all the planets in our solar system are inhabited, and photos of Mars taken on a Palomar Observatory have proven the canal on Mars are man-made, built by an intelligence far greater than any man on Earth. However, as one UFO historian has noted, even in the early 1950s, Adamski's assertions about the surface conditions on and habitability of Venus, Mars, and the other planets of the solar system flew in the face of massive scientific evidence. Mainstream ufologists were almost uniformly hostile to Adamski, holding not only that his and similar contact stories were fraudulent, but the contactees were making serious UFO investigators look ridiculous. On May 29, 1950, Adamski took a photograph of what he alleged to be 6 unidentified objects in the sky which appeared to be flying in formation. This same UFO photograph was depicted in August 1978 commemorative stamp issued by the Island Nation of Grenada in order to mark the year of the UFOs. So, Adamski's in the desert, in the Colorado desert, near the town of Desert Center, California, when they saw a large submarine-shaped object hovering in the sky. Believing the ship was looking for him, Adamski is said to have left his friends and headed away from the main road. Shortly afterward, according to Adamski's accounts, a scout ship made of a translucent metal landed close to him, and its pilot, a Venusian called Orthon, disembarked and sought him out. Adamski claimed that people with him also saw the Venusian ship, and several of them later stated they couldn't see Adamski meeting someone in the desert, although from a considerable distance. Adamski described Orthon as being a medium-height humanoid with long blonde hair and tanned skin, wearing reddish-brown shoes, though Adamski added his trousers were not like mine. Adamski and Orthon communicated with him via telepathy and through hand signals. During the conversation, Orthon warned of the dangers of nuclear war, and Adamski later wrote that the presence of the inhabitants of Venus was likely the warm embrace of great love and understanding wisdom. Adamski claimed Orthon had refused to allow himself to be photographed, and instead, he asked Adamski to provide him with a blank photographic plate, which Adamski claims he had given Orthon. George Hunt Williamson, a contactee and Adamski associate, also claimed that after Orthon left, he was able to take plaster casts of Orthon's shoe imprint. The imprints contained mysterious symbols, which Adamski said was a message from Orthon. Orthon is said to have returned the photographic plate to Adamski on December 13, 1952. When developed, it was found to contain strange new symbols. It was during this meeting Adamski is said to have taken a now famous photograph of Orthon's Venusian scout ship using his 6-inch 150mm telescope. At the time, skeptics said it looked like the top of a chicken brooder for warming newly hatched poultry. Anglo-Irish eccentric Desmond Leslie struck up a correspondence with Adamski. In the mid-50s, Leslie had created a low-budget UFO film titled Them and the Thing at his home in Castle Leslie. The flying saucer in the film had been created by shining mirrors onto a Spanish Renaissance shield suspended from a fishing line. The film was rediscovered in 2010. In need of money and keen to create a bestseller, Leslie had written a manuscript about a visitation of Earth by aliens. Its genesis had been Leslie chancing upon a copy of the 1896 book, The Story of Atlantis and Lost Lemuria by William Scott Elliott in a friend's library. Adamski sent Leslie a written account on his supposed contact with Orthon and photos. Leslie combined the two works into the 1953 co-authored book, Flying Saucers Have Landed. The book became a bestseller, brought both Adamski and Leslie news media attention, and eventually became the key text of the New Age movement. The following year, Leslie visited Adamski in California and claimed to witness several UFOs with him. Leslie described one of them in a letter he sent to his wife while he was in San Diego. A beautiful golden ship in the sunset, but brighter than the sunset, slowly faded out the way they do. Flying saucers have landed, claimed Nordic aliens from Venus and other planets in our solar system routinely visited the Earth. According to the book, Orthon and other aliens were worried that nuclear bomb tests in Earth's atmosphere would kill all life on Earth, spread radiation into space, and contaminate other planets. Adamski claimed that Nordic aliens worship the creator of all, but that we on Earth know very little about this creator. Our understanding is shallow. In his 1955 book, Inside the Spaceships, Adamski claimed Orthon arranged for him to be taken on a trip to see the solar system, including the planet Venus, the location where Orthon said the late Mrs. Adamski had been reincarnated. He claimed that in another voyage, he met a 1,000-year-old elder philosopher of the space people who was called Master. Adamski said he mastered the custom of philosophy, religion, and the Earth's place in the universe. Adamski said he learned that he had been selected by Nordic aliens to bring their message of peace to Earth people, and that other humans throughout history had also served as these messengers, including none other than Jesus Christ. Adamski further claimed that aliens were peacefully living on Earth that he had met with them in bars and restaurants in Southern California. Adamski's stories led other people to come forward with their own claims of contact and interplanetary travels with friendly space brothers, including such figures as Howard Menger, Daniel Fry, George Van Tassel, and Truman Bethram. The message of Adamski and his fellow contactees was one in which the other planets of Earth's solar system were all inhabited by physically handsome, spiritually evolved beings who have moved beyond the problems of Earth's people. The readers of Inside the Spaceships enters a perfect world, the kind we could create here on Earth if we behave ourselves. Through books, lectures, and conventions, particularly the annual Giant Rock UFO Convention in California, the contactee movement would grow throughout the 50s. However, Adamski remained the most prominent and most influential of the contactees. Adamski's claim of traveling aboard a UFO inspired an elaborate hoax perpetrated by British astronomer Patrick Moore and his friend Peter Davis using the false identity Cedric Ailingham.
Fuel scoop disengaged.
So yeah, there we go there. George Adamski. Good old George Adamski, right. George Adamski also met with the Queen Julian of the Netherlands. On May 1959, the head of the Dutch Unidentified Flying Objects Society told Adamski he had been contacted by officials at the palace of Queen Julian of the Netherlands who advised that the Queen would like to receive you. Adamski informed a London paper about the invitation, which prompted the court and cabinet to request the Queen cancel her private audience with Adamski. The Queen went ahead with the audience, saying a hostess cannot slander the door in the face of her guests. After the audience, Dutch Aeronautical Association President Cornelius Kloff said the Queen showed an extraordinary interest in the whole subject. The Royal Netherlands Air Force Chief of Staff, Lieutenant General Hay Shaper, said, "The man's a pathological case." Time magazine reported that the Amsterdam newspaper said, once again, Queen Julian's weakness for preternatural has landed her back in the headlines. She has invited to the palace a crackpot from California who numbered among his friends men from Mars, Venus, and other solar systems suburbs. Wire services such as United Press International and Reuters circulated reports of the meeting to newspapers around the world. So yeah, I guess they tried to make her look silly. Tried to make her look like a big silly goose because she was talking to good old George Adamski. Queen Julian of the Netherlands. Please come and meet with the Queen of the Netherlands so that we may discuss these spacemen. We will talk at length about these moon men.
Mission objective detected.
Tell me more about the Space Brothers, Mr. Adamski. I want to know more. You have been invited by the Queen of the Netherlands to speak on behalf of the spacemen. And what an honor it must be to speak on behalf of the spacemen for Adamski.
You got it, Commander. Deploying the ship.
Scan
Lighter is deployed.
Dinkum Aussie for Australian $2.99. Thank you, Dinkum Aussie. Much appreciated. Dinkum Aussie said, lick the like button. You know you wanna. Yeah, well, please hit that like button for me. I do appreciate it. It does help. Thank you so much. And Marco Esquadores for $4.99. Thank you, Marco. Marco says, Pete, great to see you. I watched tape vids featuring the fat. Keep it up. Okay. Furring the fat. Okay. I still don't know what that means. But thank you, Margo. I'm not sure what you're saying. I'm a little confused. Just taking a minute to dip into the chat and see what's going on here. Talking about tonight, if you're just joining us, we're talking about the astonishing tales of the UFO, the stories that make up the mythology of the UFO, from the contact movement of the 50s and 60s, all the way up through the people who claimed that were taken by the aliens during the 80s and 90s, and up until this day. You know, there is a drastic switch in these encounters people have with these creatures over the course of the years, and that is either because we're talking about people who are making stuff up, then, or people who are making stuff up now. Somebody's making something up.
Target destroyed.
Somebody is
Good
making
job,
things
Commander.
up,
No more threats in this sector.
or maybe they're not. Who knows if Orthon was a space alien that Adamski was meeting out in the desert? Who knows if Truman Bethlehem was truly enamored with a space alien named Captain Aura Raines, the chief captain of the spaceship? She was,
Scan
you know, we were
detected.
talking 1950 here, 1960, where that just wouldn't be a thing unless, you know, she was from another planet. Just wouldn't be the case. But I think that that's, you know, that's kind of how it goes here. Listen, folks, I'm just checking the clock on the wall here, and I realize that we're coming up on the end of the show already. God, that was a fast hour, wasn't it? That one just rocketed by. So, before we go, I do want to ask that you check out the description of this video, where you'll find links to my Twitter, email, and Instagram, as well as my Gab.
Retracted.
You can also find a link to my Patreon, where if you're in the mood, you can become a patron. A big thank you to all my current Patreon supporters, both new and old. I've only got one tier over there. It's $1 a month. That's a quarter a week, less than the price of a cup of coffee. And I hope you feel what goes on here every single night, including weekends and holidays. It's worth a quarter a week. You might consider signing up. You can always cancel after the first month. Consider it like a tip jar. I've also got a Teespring store where you'll find merchandise inspired by the esoteric and extraterrestrial. There's something pinned up at the top of the chat you can check out tonight. There's a link down in the description of this video. You can check out something there. I'm sure you'll find something you'll like. I've got a second channel called Dark Sayings where I do audiobook recordings. My most recent is The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe, so you can check that out if you want to click on that link down there as well. I got a P.O. box, which I'm going to go check tomorrow because Dr. Foreman Colossus told me I got to go check out my P.O. box, so I'm going to go check out my P.O. box. What else? There is about it. That is about it, isn't it? I think that covers everything. So let me say thank you to JPTV AZ, Dinkamallsy, and Marco Escondoles for your generous super chats. They're much appreciated. Never expected, but always appreciated. Thank you very much. I want to say thank you to Team Tomazuski for moderating tonight. Thank you so much, Team Tomazuski. Much appreciated. I want to say thank you to all of you for tuning in, being here with us tonight as we talk about the world of the weird. So many fun and fascinating things to get into on this channel. And it wouldn't be the same if you weren't here to enjoy it all with us. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your hour. Thank you for your attention. It really means a lot to me. Let me go ahead and play the thing real quick before we get out of here. Here is thing.
This kind of broadcasting only works in this country. Here in America, we put on the programs that you enjoy, and we simply come to you and ask you to support them. Help this system of broadcasting work. We need to hear from you. We also are looking for a lot of new subscribers right now. So please become a new subscriber and help us reach our goal of 12,000 new subscribers.
But the most important thing is to get that money in and into our studios right away so that we can bring you more programs like this. And you can do that on a Visa, MasterCard, or American Express.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for tonight again. Thank you for being here. This has been the Creepy Little Book Live. I've been your host, Pete. And until next time, stay creeped out.
Got it, Commander. Deploying the ship. Fighter is deployed.
Target shields offline. Scan detected.
Taking damage. Request
Target
assistance.
destroyed. Scan detected. Target shields offline. Target destroyed.
Can't see any more hostiles. That must be it, Commander.
Scan detected. Target shields offline. Target destroyed.
This area is clear, Commander. Standing down.
Target shields offline. Target destroyed.
No more targets. We're all clear, Commander.
Target shields offline. Target destroyed. destroyed.
This area is clear, Commander. Standing down.
Under attack. Target shields offline. Target destroyed.
Can't see any more hostiles. That must be it, Commander.
Target shields offline. Temperature critical. Scan detected. Target destroyed. Scan detected.
Good job, Commander. No more threats in this sector.
Target destroyed. Target destroyed. Scan detected. Incoming mission critical message.
Can't see any more hostiles. That must be it, Commander. Got the fighter back in the bay, Commander.
Cargo scoop retracted. Cargo scoop deployed. Cargo scoop retracted. Frameshift drive charging.
Request for pilots to trace distress call. Pilots Federation alert. An independent vessel has detected a fragment of a mysterious message coming from an unexplored region of space. Commander Elsa Solomon was traveling through the Swal's XXDC-130 system when her ship's communications array picked up a faint transmission. The message was as follows. This is an emergency broadcast on all frequencies from Serene Harbor. We are. The transmission ended abruptly and did not resume. The signal did not contain any identification data or indications as to its origin. Commander Solomon gave more details to Vox Galactica. The message appeared in my comms panels as text and an electronically generated voice. I wasn't able to determine a source, only that it was broadcast within 80 light years of that system. My schedule was tight, so I couldn't spend long tracking it. I have no idea if Serene Harbor is a starport, a settlement, or even a megaship, but this is obviously a Mayday signal. Someone somewhere is in serious trouble. I've asked the Pilots Federation to share the information in case any of my fellow commanders can help. To help triangulate the source, there is a call-out to any other ships that were in the area at the time, which may have received a similar broadcast. However, no responses have been received as yet. Sirius Corporation secures hosting of Galactic Summit. Pilots Federation alert. Sirius Corporation has received more data than Utopia and will therefore host the Galactic Summit. Both organizations propose to organize a diplomatic conference for the Alliance, Empire and Federation. After calling on the galactic community to gather data that would support security operations, many pilots handed in anomalous bulk scan data, atypical disrupted wake echoes, exceptional scrambled emission data and unusual encrypted files. All three superpower governments confirmed that due to its success in preparing effective security systems, they will accept Sirius Corporation as the neutral territory for the conference. CEO Li Yongrui made this announcement. Thank you to all the independent pilots who supported us. Sirius will now begin work preparing for the first Galactic Summit, which we hope will increase peace and prosperity across the galaxy. Pilots who delivered to Sirius Corporation can collect their rewards from Goldstein Port in the Lembava system. Simguru Pranav Antal expressed disappointment, but confirmed that all who contributed to Utopia's initiative will be rewarded at Tana Settlement in the Pelevnik system. Sirius Corporation has stated that the Galactic Summit is provisionally scheduled to take place over a 3-week period in late February and early March. Jasmina Halsey provides testimony about Starship One. Former President Jasmina Halsey has taken the witness stand during the trial of Fleet Admiral Lucas Vincent at the Federal High Court. Crime correspondent Ethan Takahashi reported the details for the Federal Times. Jasmina Halsey confirmed that the orders for Starship One's unscheduled stopover in the Azalic system came directly from Fleet Admiral Vincent. She added that the presidential itinerary was often altered for various mundane reasons, and at the time this seemed routine. Halsey also provided an account of the vessel's destruction, describing the chaos and panic on board as the hyperspace misjump caused rapid structural disintegration. She praised her security detail for getting her into a cryogenic stasis pod and launching it moments before Starship One exploded. During cross-examination, the Defense Counsel quoted her reported visions after being rescued, when Halsey described meeting the caretakers of our galaxy and experiencing the infinities of the cosmos. It was suggested that the testimony of someone suffering from such obvious delusions should be discounted. Halsey admitted that she no longer has any memory of making those statements and may have been suffering from post-traumatic shock. She then provided the court with psychological reports and neural scans from the Alliance's finest doctors, medically confirming that she is of sound state of mind. Trial of Fleet Admiral Vincent begins. The Federal High Court on Mars has opened the trial of Fleet Admiral Lucas Vincent, who is charged with conspiracy to commit murder and treason. Vincent stands accused of organizing the sabotage of Starship One in 3301, resulting in hundreds of deaths. The Federal Times' crime correspondent Ethan Takahashi reported. The trial began with the prosecution counsel outlining the case. Material evidence obtained from Chief Technician Rory Webster, whose testimony led to Vincent's arrest, was presented before the jury. Vincent was questioned about a secure transmission from his office to the presidential vessel on the 24th of May 3301, ordering an unscheduled diversion to the Azalic system for routine maintenance. This is where Webster's engineering team followed Vincent's orders to install the sabotaged hyperdrive component that caused the misjump. Evading the questions, Vincent claimed that the entire trial was a Liberal Party cover-up and that Starship One was destroyed to put Winters in charge. With the loss of President Halsey and Vice President Naylor, Felicia Winters did indeed assume the role of acting president and became leader of the Liberal Party. However, the Defense Council played down these accusations, instead declaring that Webster's recordings of Vincent's orders could have been falsified. Councillor Kane campaigns for alliance votes. Councillor Nakato Kane is visiting key systems across the alliance as part of her bid to be elected as the next Prime Minister. Of all the challengers to the incumbent Edmund Mahone, Kane has the most support from fellow council members. She has represented the Tionisla system for nearly a decade and is renowned for delivering forceful speeches before the Assembly. Kane's disapproval of the expansionist policies in recent years has struck a chord with people in many systems. She also has a strong reputation among the Old Worlds, which are viewed as the historic hub of the Alliance. During a political rally on Leasty, Councillor Kane directly criticized her election opponent. Prime Minister Mahone clearly thinks that the Alliance must mimic the Empire's arrogance and the Federation's corporate greed. He has repeatedly led us into conflict with the Thargoid race, risking millions of lives so we could raid their territories like thieves in the night. I believe that we should be inspired by the mutual cooperation that once made the Old Worlds thrive. We must invest in trade and security to benefit our member systems, instead of pretending to be a monolithic superpower. Marlinist colonies receive emergency food supplies. Pilots Federation alert. Large amounts of food commodities have been delivered to the Marlinist colonies. Multiple
Core Dynamics, Bravo Alpha November. Station services are on standby for your arrival, Commander. Good to have you.
shipments of animal meat, fish, fruit and vegetables and grain were transported to Stillman Hub. Messages of
Approved for access. Proceed to landing pad 20.
gratitude were broadcast from all the Marlinist factions, which have distributed these vital supplies across the 8 colony systems. The Free Marlinists of Carini also issued bounty vouchers for wanted ships, in order to protect the deliveries. Contributing pilots can now collect their rewards from Stillman Hub in the HIP-2.
You're on course for landing, Commander. Take her in gently.
2550 system. In related news, the first Marlinist Parliament has been democratically elected. The respected community leader Dr. Jenna Fairfax was chosen by a majority public vote to be First Minister. In a public address, she said, "This path was not chosen by us, but our people have turned Marlin Deval's ideology into
300 meters from touchdown.
Landing gear deployed.
functioning Republican society. Now that we are fully independent members of the galactic community, we can repay those who aided our survival by offering discounts on commodities and establishing regular trading." Sirius and Utopia compete to host Galactic Summit. Pilots Federation alert. Rival initiatives to arrange a diplomatic conference have been launched by Sirius Corporation and the Utopia.
Solid contact. You may disembark when ready. Welcome to the station, Commander.
The Alliance Assembly, Federal Congress, and Imperial Senate have each provisionally agreed to send delegates to the first Tri-Superpower Galactic Summit in late February. This political gathering will also be attended by representatives from independent systems. All parties have specified that their participation depends upon the event being successfully organized in neutral territory and with sufficient resources and security in place. Sirius Corporation and Utopia have begun to gather supplies to host the conference.
Incoming message.
Both have requested assistance from the galactic community
Incoming mission critical message.
to provide a broad range of data, which will be vital for planning security operations. Whichever organization obtains the greatest amount of data will be deemed most suitable. The following data sources are of interest to both parties: anomalous bulk scan data, atypical disrupted wake echoes, exceptional scrambled emission data, and unusual encrypted files. Simguru Pranav Antal has called upon all pilots who support Utopia's proposal to deliver the data to Tanna settlement in the Pelevnik system. CEO Leong Rui has asked all those who believe Sirius Corporation to be a more suitable host to deliver the data to Goldstein Port in the Lembava system. Jasmina Halsey returns to the Federation. Former President Jasmina Halsey has arrived on Mars to stand as a witness in the upcoming trial of Fleet Admiral Lucas Vincent. Halsey was subpoenaed by the Federal High Court to testify before the jury. Although this was not legally enforceable, since she now lives beyond the Federation's jurisdiction, she has acceded to the court's request. Jasmina Halsey served as federal president prior to the destruction of Starship 1 in 3301, which Vincent is accused of arranging. She was recovered alive, but abandoned her political career and emigrated to the Alliance. She has since campaigned as a peace activist and acted as an advisor to Prime Minister Edmund Mahone. After greeting a large crowd of supporters at Olympus Village Spaceport, Halsey gave a statement to the Federal Times. "This is a bittersweet moment for me. Coming back to the Federation feels like revisiting a past life. But perhaps we can finally lay some ghosts to rest." She was welcomed in person by Shadow President Felicia Winters, who is Secretary of State in Halsey's administration. However, President Zachary Hudson has made no comment regarding his predecessor's return or the forthcoming trial of Fleet Admiral Vincent. Prime Minister Mahone campaigns for re-election. Edmund Mahone has launched a